Instability in the Balkans is once again sending a shiver of dread through European capitals. Albanian Kosovars are on the brink of a unilateral declaration of independence from Serbia. Belgrade, with backing from Moscow, says any such move will have dire consequences far beyond Kosovo. My guest today is Serbia's foreign minister. Is it too late to avert another round of Balkan strife? Vuk Jeremić, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you.
Do you accept that the effort to find a negotiated deal between you in Serbia and the Kosovar Albanians has conclusively failed?
Well, this round of talks did not bring a successful conclusion. This round of talks that are ending on the 10th of December did not bring a compromise. What Serbia is saying right now is that Serbia is prepared for the continuation of a status dialogue. And we're hoping that in the future, if we continue with the talks, if we continue with patient negotiations, such a deal that is a compromise solution, a solution accepted by both sides, is going to be possible.
But the point is that both the US and EU mediators have concluded, after, let's face it, months and months of talking, that the gap between you and the Kosovar Albanians is unbridgeable.
Well, our assessment of the situation is that what was not very helpful under the circumstances, and especially throughout the last 120 days of negotiations, was that throughout these negotiations we were witnessing important representatives of important countries coming out and saying that if we don't find a deal, if we don't reach a deal by the 10th of December, that they are going to support the position of one of the sides. That, of course, this encouraged that particular side, in this case the side of Kosovo Albanians, to just wait out a clock, knowing that after the December 10, they are going to receive the full endorsement of their negotiating position.
But
that did not help.
I'm not sure you're addressing my key and fundamental question, which is simply this. Well, let me put it another way. Are you prepared to countenance in any shape or form independence for Kosovo?
Well, for us, I mean, for the Serbian position, we cannot accept infringement of sovereignty and territorial integrity of our country. So this was our line throughout this dialogue.
Well, let me stop you there, because that's what I suspected you might say. If you are not prepared to countenance any change in the territorial integrity of Serbia, as you put it, which, of course, traditionally has included Kosovo, then there is nothing to talk about, because let me quote to you the words of the Kosovar president, Fatmir Sideu. He says, independence is the beginning and the end of our strategy, and one way or another, it will happen.
So I think that in a negotiation, if there are to be brought to a successful conclusion, both sides have to give up some of their demands. So Serbian side in this negotiation was actually very flexible, and I'll explain to you how we were flexible. We said there is no country in the world, there's no free country, there's no democratic country in the world that would accept infringement of sovereignty and territorial integrity of itself. But we said we are actually very flexible with regard to how we're going to define it, how we're going to make up for the preservation of sovereignty. And we were prepared to go a very long way. We were prepared to propose like a number of models of super substantial autonomy, if you will, that will allow the Kosovo Albanians to de facto run their own affairs without Serbia having to give up its sovereignty, which is something that, free, internationally recognized sovereign states would not be prepared to accept under any circumstances anyway.
Mr. Jeremić, you have been making that case that there is a plausible solution which does not involve Kosovan independence. You've been making that case for many months. Many independent international mediators have examined your case, and in the end they have concluded it's simply not workable. And let me just quote you the words of Martti Ahtisaari, the Finnish politician who spent months on this problem, who wrote a report to the United Nations and who concluded independence is the only viable option for a politically stable and economically viable Kosovo.
Well, I would disagree with the words of President Ahtisaari that this is the solution, this is the way forward that will lead us to peaceful stable and prosperous Balkans. Because if you end up in a situation, if you have to impose against the will of one nation, against the international law, against the Security Council, some kind of a solution, some kind of a status that is not accepted in the region, that may cause further problems in the region, then I fail to see how this particular solution is going to provide for all the positive ramifications that President Asori was talking about.
To put it bluntly, what right do you, as a senior Serbian official, have to dictate the terms of the final settlement in Kosovo, given that 9 years ago your government launched a military assault on Kosovo? It killed around 10,000 people. It left 800,000 people without homes. I just spoke to Lord Ashdown, who knows a thing or two about stability in the Balkans, and he said, in the end, Serbia has to recognize that there is no way in the world, given that history, that Kosovo can ever again be under the rule of Belgrade.
There are two important things that I want to tell you at this stage. First of all, is that there was a war in 1999, and this war was waged by NATO against the regime of Slobodan Milosevic. It was not waged against the Serbian people. It was not waged against the Serbian state. We were told that this was a war against the tyrannical regime of Slobodan Milosevic.
Hang on, before we go, let's just remember there was a war before that. There was a war declared by the Serbian military forces on the people of Kosovo. Well, that was a war. It felt like a war to the tens of thousands of people who suffered as a result of it.
That was, well, let's get to the 1999, because this was like a military conflict that was between the regime of Slobodan Milosevic and NATO. This war ended in NATO victory in 1999. And NATO, as victors, they were dictating the terms of peace. And the terms of peace that Milosevic had to accept were put down in the Security Council Resolution 1244. And then the victors could have dictated the terms of peace. They could have put in this terms of peace like anything they wanted. They put, among other things, one sentence: Kosovo remains part of Serbia. Now, they did it to the regime, to the defeated regime of Slobodan Milosevic. Nowadays, we are in 2007. We've got a very different Serbia. We've got a Serbia that is a democratic nation. We've got a Serbia that's got a rule of law. We've got a Serbia that has European integration and regional reconciliation as its utmost priority. And now, there are a number of places in the world who are coming to this kind of Serbia, who is now led by the very people who have risked their lives to defeat the regime of Slobodan Milosevic, and say, you have to pay the dues of Milosevic. By the way, Milosevic's dead. And Milosevic, just one more thing.
I understand your point, and I believe you've made it, but you have a Kosovo where more than 90% of the people are Albanian. They are no longer prepared to live under Belgrade's rule. They have spent 8 years waiting for independence. They will not wait any longer. And the question to you is, what are you going to do when they declare independence?
Well, first of all, we appreciate the plight of the Kosovo Albanians under the rule of Slobodan Milosevic. And this is why we're saying, in our negotiations, we're saying to them, listen, the models that we're proposing to you, the future status models that we're proposing to you, do not envisage the return of Kosovo under the Serbian rule. And all the models that we've proposed, and we've proposed like a number of models, they envisage almost unrestrained exercise of self-governance on behalf of the Kosovo
Why are there
Albanians.
posters going up all over Belgrade right now, then, which say Kosovo is Serbia?
Well, talking about the sovereignty of
Kosovo
Serbia,
is Serbia. That's what they say.
Well,
Your government's put them up all over Belgrade.
I'm not sure if the government is actually the entity that is putting up these posters. I've seen these posters. They were put by like a number of NGOs, and I think that they are reflecting at this moment the sense of the people of Serbia.
You see, this gets to the point of it, doesn't it? There is no way those posters would be going up without the full authorization of your government, and you know it.